Good morning, class 7. So now we have finished with the history section and now we are moving towards the civics portion. All right. And the first chapter from your civics portion is our constitution. Now, what is a constitution? So, girls and boys, let us begin with what is a constitution. In simple language, a constitution is a book or a document which contains rules, norms, regulations by which a country is governed. It also consists of the various functions of the government and also the powers that the government enjoys. So, if I have to relate the constitution for simple understanding, then the constitution is like your school diary, where the rules of the school has been written and all the students must follow it. Rules like school timing, tidy uniforms, hairstyle for both boys and girls, so on and so forth. So, if anybody disobeys the rules of the school, then the student is bound to be punished, isn't it? If you disobey or if you do not adhere to the rules of the school, then what is going to happen? If you come late to school, if you have long hair, then you will be penalized, you will be charged a fine, isn't it? So in the same manner, the constitution is the law of the land which has to be followed and respected by all the citizens of the country. I hope we have understood a little as to what a constitution is. Now, everyone, you need to understand that there are two types of constitution. One which is written and the other which is unwritten. Now, from the term itself, we understand that written meaning we will find it in black and white writing, and unwritten meaning it is not stated in a document. All right. So, I will give you few examples of countries with a written constitution and some with unwritten constitution. All right. So the countries with a written constitution are USA, Australia, Brazil, France, etc. And those with an unwritten constitution are United Kingdom, Israel, New Zealand, etc. So these are not given in your book. I would want you to again listen to this, all right, and then jot it down in your books. Is that clear? Now, very important note, you need to know that USA was the world's first country to have a written constitution. So please highlight it. Okay, it is there in the first paragraph. Now, in the picture here at your right side, it talks about French Revolution. In this, you just need to know that the revolution, meaning overthrowing, all right. In this, you just need to know that the revolution means overthrowing the present government and bringing a new system. So, the French Revolution began in France, and this revolution did away or overthrew the monarchy system in France. Now, what is monarchy? Monarchy meaning when the king or the queen rules, isn't it? So in France, they overthrew it. They did away with, they removed the king or the queen, all right, and they wanted a new system to come. The public then emphasized the idea of equality before law, which means that all will be treated equally and fairly. So the French Revolution, all right, it brought about the concept of equality before law, which means that everybody is equal, all right. Nobody will get, extra preference. Is that clear? The rich and the poor will come under the same law. So, this was the concept that the French Revolution put forward. So, this is all you need to know in a gist. All right. Moving on with another subtopic, that is framing of the Indian Constitution. We all know that India was under the British rule for nearly 200 years, isn't it? With the Western education introduced by the British, the educated Indians became aware of their rights. All right. So, with education, you learned a lot of things. All right. The educated Indians, they learned a lot of things and they were able to fight for their rights. They were able to voice their opinion. The we feeling for the country developed and people launched nationalistic movement which drove the British out of India. Earlier, it was, the kings, all right, the queen, all right, or even, the generals, the commanders, okay, they were the ones who were fighting against, they were the ones who were, waging a war against the Britishers. But now, at the present moment, what happened? It was the political leaders, it was the nationalist movement who were trying to free India from the clutches of the British. Many of these nationalist movement was conducted by different leaders. So these nationalistic movements, all right, nationalistic movements means you want to free India. Okay, you want to get freedom from the British. It was conducted by different leaders, groups, political parties, and organizations. Some of the important political parties were the Indian National Congress, the Muslim League, and so on. Now, the Indian National Congress was formed in 1885. Please highlight it. And it consisted of members from different communities, sections, and regions of India. Okay, so the Indian National Congress had members from different communities, from different society, etc. The leaders of the Indian National Congress struggled very hard to achieve independence. So see here, they want independence from the British. They want their country back. Okay, they wanted Indians to rule their own country, but the British did not listen to them. Obviously, the British is not going to listen to them, isn't it? Because they are having a lot of profit by governing or by administering India. But towards the end of the Second World War, the British rule became very weak. I hope we all are aware of the two great world wars that the world witnessed. The First World War started when? It started from 1914 and ended in 1918. So, how long did it last for? It lasted for 4 years. The Second World War lasted for almost 6 years, from 1939 to 1945. So during this time period of the Second World War, the British was losing hold on India. They were losing their power. Okay. Within 2 years, they were preparing to leave India. So now they wanted to leave India. Why? Because their power was now reducing. Okay. It was fading away. So they felt it was better to leave India under such circumstance and move to their own country. Now, the British sent a group of British officers called the Cabinet Mission in order to prepare a constitution for India. So, the British, they sent from England, all right, a cabinet mission, a group of British officers in order to prepare a constitution for India. According to the cabinet mission, a constituent assembly would be formed which would document the constitution for India. So now this cabinet mission, which consists of foreign officials, they will be forming or they will be forming a constituent assembly, all right, and this constituent assembly will contain or will consist of Indian leaders or Indian personals, all right, and this body, that is the constituent assembly, will be the body that will frame the constitution for India. Is that clear? Okay, now we move on to the third subtopic, and this is the last topic for today's session. The third subtopic is the Constituent Assembly. Now, we already discussed what is the Constituent Assembly. So, let us, you know, in detail, learn what it really means. Okay. Let us get down to the Constituent Assembly. It was not formed by a direct election by the Indian public. It was formed by the votes by the Provincial Legislative Assembly. Now, you have to know that the Constituent Assembly was not directly elected by the public votes. Is that clear? It was elected, all right, by the votes of the Legislative Assembly. Now, by Legislative Assembly, just understand that it is a part of the government, all right. It was one part of the government, Legislative Assembly. And that body was the one who elected or who voted for the people who would form the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly was formed in such a manner that it included members from all communities, political parties, and regions, and lower caste communities as well, such as the scheduled caste. So here we see that the Constituent Assembly, it did not restrict members, that only these people, from this area or from this community will be joining or will be forming the Constituent Assembly. It was not like that. People from all the field, from all the background, they were encouraged in order to be a member of the Constituent Assembly. Now, some of the important members of the Constituent Assembly were Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Patel, K.M. Munshi, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Sarojini Naidu, Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, and so on. And all of these people, they belong to different categories, all right, to different regions and different communities. Now, there were minority groups, all right, like Anglo Indian community. I hope you know what are minority groups. Minority groups meaning who are found in small number. The population is in very small number, all right. So there were minority groups like the Anglo Indian community, which was represented by Frank Anthony. Another was the Parsi community, which is also found in India in a very less number. all right, which was represented by HP Modi. So the Parsi community was represented by HP Modi. And the Indian Christians by it was represented by H.C. Mukherjee. So we see that there were different small, communities, all right, or you can say the minority groups who were represented by different leaders. Okay, so this is all that we will be doing today. The next subtopics will be covered in the next session, in the next classes. All right. Now let us just recapitulate what we did. So we studied first of all what is a constitution. Now you can clearly say what is a constitution. A constitution is a document which contains the rules and the regulations, the powers and the functions of the government. All right. Secondly, we moved on to the framing of the Indian constitution. Now, in order to frame the constitution for India, all right, the law of the land, what happened from England, all right, a cabinet mission was sent. And this cabinet mission, they framed or they formed the Constituent Assembly. And this Constituent Assembly, which consisted of the different individuals or the different Indian personnels, they were to form the constitution for India. Fine. We moved on now to the Constituent Assembly. Now, what was the Constituent Assembly? Here, under this, you just have to remember that the members of the Constituent Assembly, they came from a varied background, varied community, all right, different classes or different social backgrounds as well. And the most important people here were your Rajendra Prasad, all right, then you have KM Munshi, then you have Sarojini Naidu, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and so on. And also, you have to remember one thing, that the minority groups had its own leaders. So I think you all have understood a little. If not, please go through the book. Also go through the extra mark presentation, all right? And you'll be able to understand. So this is all for the day. Thank you all and have a good day.